Hey, Derek.
Hey, what's up, Stu?
It's good to see you again, man.
I know, man. It's been a minute. I feel like
it's been like a day.
Yeah, it has.
I saw you yesterday.
Yeah, that's all right though.
We have probably one of our favorite brewers of all time. Me being a San Diego guy, it is my favorite brewer of all time on the show today. And so I don't even want to slow us down with an intro. Let's just get right into the damn thing. Roll it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Stu Hawk, and this is my podcast about all the weird, crazy, spooky things that scare me and my guests, and the one thing that helps us forget all about them. Ladies and gentlemen, beer freaks. So, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
And we got the coolest. God, my mic is going nuts.
That's how excited we are. We're just tossing our mics around.
We got the coolest guest, Stu. And I know this. You got to introduce this guy because this is your dude. It's like he is to you as Ryan Reynolds is to me. I feel like
it's like meeting your hero right now.
Yep.
This is the moment. Greg Koch, founder of Stone Brewing.
Boom.
Welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Boom. Nice to be here. It's great. I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan too, by the way. I
yes.
Deadpool. Before the first one came out, and when the trailer was out, and then every trailer I would watch and rewatch and wave Sarah over, and she's, come on, watch this. This is cool. I can't wait for this movie to come out. And she was always unimpressed. Yeah. And she refused to watch it until about a year later. And then she did. She's like, oh, that was pretty good. I'm like, hi.
It's only a matter of time. It was inevitable. It had to come around. And now with the new Mortal Kombat movie, apparently there's already a petition for
They want him to be Johnny Cage.
They want him to be Johnny Cage in the next one.
Yep.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet, though.
It's good.
I haven't seen it.
It's good.
So, Greg, I mean, again, I can't tell you how many beers of Stone that I've drank. It's going to probably make me sound like an alcoholic, but I have tried probably every release that you guys have ever had. The Cali Belgique, holy cow. Arrogant Bastard, like literally just going back to the OGs, that is still one of my go-tos. And just Stone IPA, you cannot go wrong with that beer. That is one of the best IPAs on the market. And you are the mastermind, you and your co-founder behind this whole thing. You guys started this whole thing. I mean,
Steve Wagner.
A little bit about Steve Wagner.
I'm a co-mastermind, if that word phrase could even apply to me ever. But Steve Wagner is my is real mastermind. I'm just a puppet. He's got the strings above, and I'm just a puppet. He sends me out to do all the stupid shit. While he's doing the smart shit.
Oh, I see. But, okay, fair enough.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't figured it out yet.
Is that how you wound up in Berlin while he kind of stayed and hung back in San Diego?
That's part of it, yeah.
Well, Derek and I watched Beer Jesus recently because, obviously that's it was a huge part of Stone's background. I mean, and it was really interesting to hear about the Stone rock and roll ethos. And the reason that you guys went there, you use terms like German beer is great until it becomes dogmatic. You were tired. I'm putting a little bit of words in your mouth here of that sort of like the laws around German beer. You wanted to bring craft to where beer started. Can you tell us a little bit about what you learned from the whole Stone Berlin thing?
Well, if I'd only learned this Epictetus quote, Roman Stoic philosopher from 2000 more or less years ago, it goes something like, you cannot teach a man what he believes he already knows. And it's okay. I could have learned a little bit from that because I can tell you that most Germans are convinced that they know everything about beer. And a very common conversation would be, randomly, let's say I'm sitting in a bar in Germany drinking a beer, and you get in a conversation with the person next to you, as you want to do in a bar over a beer, and like, so what are you doing in Germany? Well, as a matter of fact, building a brewery, a Brauerei in Deutschland. Yeah. But but you're American. The implication is you're an American, and so what could you possibly know about beer? And then, of course, the next question was, and what about the reinheitsgebot? And I'm like, it just, forgive me, I'm going to be really pointed here. It just shows how little people know, because Germans don't actually really know about the reinheitsgebot. It's a word. It's a word that's thrown around a lot. They see it on advertising. They see it on beer labels. Don't really know what it means. And like, yeah, it just means that barley, hops, water, and yeast. That's not especially hard. You know, I mean, if you know how to brew beer, you can do that. But they think it's like beyond the reach. Like, oh no, it's just because you were born in America, you couldn't possibly master such a delicate thing. Like, that's not exactly. And I remember many years ago now, it was actually in the early 2000s, I had the opportunity to go to the Oktoberfest for the first time in Munich. And yes, it was 2002, because we had just released Stone Ruination IPA as a full-time beer. And I brought some bottles with me. And I was in a VIP section of the Powell Honor tent through some connections, which was really kind of awesome place to sort of be at the balcony above, looking out all over everybody. And it was a blast. And I was talking to this German brewmaster, and I said, look, I actually smuggled in some beer of my beer. Would you like to try it? And he was willing, and I poured him a little bit, and he's, what do you put into this? And I says, it's beer. It's Hoffen, Wasser, malts, and Hefe yeast. And but barley, hops, water, yeast. And he says, no, what do you put into this? And I'm like, it's just barley, hops, water, and yeast. And he's like, no, what do you put into this?
What did he think? You drugged him or something?
Like,
no, but it's because, and I learned so much from the whole thing. But so there's this. I mean, I could spend a lot of time on this. Forgive me, and pull me out of the rabbit hole if you need to. I understand. But there's this guy, Dr. Narcissus, Ludwig Narcissus, was the head of the. If I get it wrong a little bit, but basically he was head of the Weihenstephan, brewing for or the German Brewing Federation. I don't know, something like that, for decades. And as an instructor, he really led the curriculum and the teaching for the German Brewmasters program, which is very formalized, right? We don't really have a formalized program in the United States. How do you know if you're a brewmaster? It said, printed that on your business card, like being a producer. Of a movie, I got business cards that says producer on it. Anyways, he apparently, and as the stories that I've been told, was very dogmatic. A Pilsner is this, a Bock is this, each style was just very, very specific. Color range, IBU range, malt character, what the ingredients were, particular yeasts that were used, were all very, very, very specific. And so anything outside of that frame, like a double IPA, American West Coast style double IPA, just outside of the range of any experience. And so, there just was no frame of reference for this guy. I was admittedly put off by the fact that he essentially was implying that I was lying, by his very adamant questioning. But also, it's the first time that he had a beer anywhere close to that spectrum. I wouldn't be surprised if he never had a beer past 30 IBUs at that point, and that one was, theoretically over 100. So there's just no frame of reference.
Point, were there IPAs at all in Germany? I mean, was anyone experimenting with anything like that? No.
Wow.
No, I mean, we go back to 2002 when we came out with Stone Ruination IPA. It was the first full-time brewed and bottled West Coast style double IPA on the planet. So, it hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
So, and it was going to be more than a decade later until, IPA started showing their heads in that part of the world.
So speaking of IPAs, I mean, you guys have created some of the most iconic IPAs across the US, if not the world at this point. What drew you to IPAs in the first place?
So being in San Diego, we had the good luck of having the proximity to both Pizza Port and to Blind Pig and Temecula. And so Pizza Port had Swami's, and I was a fan of Swami's. And, we got to know Vinny at Blind Pig and, his Blind Pig IPA. And I remember beers like Bombay by Boat from, but the brew pub name. They had one up in Burlingame Station. It was part of the Steelhead. Anyways, they had a that would always on cask. It was one of my favorite beers, and I'd had a couple of brew pub experiences where big IPAs, and Steve gets 110% of the credit for Stone IPA. Me just having the good sense to agree that it was a delicious beer and we should release it. It was just we discovered that we liked in our home brewing together that we both liked really hoppy beers, and so we just sort of went down that tunnel.
And then you went on to change the palate of every craft beer drinker, at least on the West Coast and probably across most of America.
Yeah.
I couldn't have seen it coming on any spectrum at all, because it's really, I didn't set out to, we didn't set out to change the palate. We just set out to make beers that we thought we liked a lot. It was a very different world, and I'm sure it sounds weird and maybe not even believable. I don't know. For me to sit here today and tell you that when we opened Stone, we never thought we would be significant on any level. We never thought we would make a mark. There were already 850 breweries in the United States. Again, by today's standards, with 8,000 plus, 850 sounds like it's more blank space on the canvas than space that's been painted on. But that's not what it felt like. It felt the opposite. It felt like the canvas had almost no white space on it, and we were too late to make a mark. But we really just wanted to open our brewery anyways. And I think that was kind of good, because I think it helped us right from the early days not try to chase after the palate or the perceived palate of the consumer. Instead, like, if we don't think we're going to make a mark, we might as well, and we got into this as a passion play, we might as well just kind of go our own way. And it was the benefit of going on our own way that actually helped us make a mark.
Well, I think that's such a good statement. You guys did it for the passion. And I think that's what people need to do, is like, they can't look for, you can't look for the credit. You can't look for anything. Like, if you're doing something, you got to do it because you love it and you want to do it. You know, that passion is a huge key.
I think of a lot of music analogies, and, if I think about the seminal artists, the seminal albums, the very best ones are ones where they're being true to themselves, and they're very good at what they did. And they didn't try to please the public, right? They just went. So whether it was, U2 or Metallica or the Grateful Dead, or, you can have a nice list of really amazing artists. They each kind of were their own thing. And, if you're trying to chase after the palate of the consumer, which I admit it's not been zero ever for Stone. That's just not, we don't make it our main thrust, right? But sometimes you got to go, hey, we got a business to run. Your music analogy, was the, go look at the Billboard 100 charts for 1987 to remember, oh yeah, I remember that, right? Whereas you don't need any Billboard album charts to remember Dark Side of the Moon or Master of Puppets or the Joshua Tree. Or so it's that spectrum, and and I think that following your own heart and following your own style is wonderful if it happens to match up with, and we didn't know it at the time, but match up with where the palates were either going or willing to go.
Yes, yes,
right.
It's a bit of serendipity along with your passion.
You essentially gave people what they didn't know they wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Henry Ford was the one who said, if I had asked consumers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. One of my favorite phrases of all time.
Yeah, I agree. And Steve Jobs with his, people don't know what they want until you show it to them.
Yep.
And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes. So Greg, you mentioned Metallica earlier. You have done a partnership with Metallica for one of your beers, if not more, actually. You've hung out with several celebrities over the years. Who's your favorite, and why is it Lars Ulrich?
I got to tell you, no matter how you would have phrased that, I probably would have come around to Lars just because I got to know him a little bit better than maybe, because I've had a chance to, brush paths or rub shoulders at various times. But one thing I really admire about Lars, and I no better example of when he visited and came to our anniversary celebration a couple of years ago and did the walking around, and I was kind of really introducing. It's good, he was one that he was willing to show up, and two that he was willing to mix with the public and kind of really trying to experience what craft beer is all about, and really getting in deeper because he had a good basic understanding, but it's coming deeper. And it was so funny watching people. Normally at our anniversary celebrations, people see me and they're like, "Hey, Greg, part of the celebration. Hey, Greg's one of the co-founders. I'm happy to see him. I'm going to high five, going to take a selfie, going to do the, because we're all celebrating. That's what we're there for that day." Yep. It was so funny. People were like, "Hey, Greg. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is this, oh shit." And so I always felt super good about the high reaction that I would get when people would see me, walking around. But it was, that was so off the charts. It was really awesome. And he was so gracious. And he was just like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And it was awesome. So I was kind of inspired by his willingness to just be, hey, good, chill, all that.
Yep.
It's cool.
Absolutely. You wanted to be a rock star before you became a brewer. And one of your quotes was actually that you didn't feel like you were ever making art when you were making music. But when you became a brewer, you now feel like you're making art. What is your most artistic beer, and what makes it artistic to you?
That's a really great question. I did a kitchen sink version of Stone Imperial Russian Stout a few years ago, back really, really, really early when like the additive ingredients into Imperial Stouts were starting to become a thing. First it was barrel aging, and then it was like, oh, maybe we'll add some coffee, maybe we'll add some, it's like I put it, and I loved it. I love this. I think we might actually call it a kitchen sink. It was a draft only, special thing, but it was not especially well received. I know I think here's my art one. Is Crime and or Punishment. Crime and those.
That's the one I think we saw in the documentary about, because we were watching about the organic farming and all the stuff that you did, and she was talking about that you had extra peppers, and you're like, "Hey, let's put it in a beer," and that's where Crime and Punishment came from. Which Stu will tell you, I'm massively I love spicy beer.
Yes,
that is my jam. Anything super weird, super spicy. So when I heard about that, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!" So.
Yeah, well, so as you saw in the documentary, they are my mother's favorite beers. My wife Sarah, they're her favorite beers. There's so many. It's interesting when we've done special events. Like I did a 40 tap takeover tour 10 years ago, and it would typically run out first or second, and 9 out of the 10 people that would come up and grab me by the collar and go, what is this? And where can I get more? How can I get more? Were women.
Yeah.
I found that fascinating because my mother doesn't especially like spicy food. And when, Sarah and I eat Thai or Indian food, I always want it more spicy than she does. And yet when it comes to those beers, she's like, oh, it's so interesting how it's sort of because the physiology between men and women in the palate has been demonstrated to be different. Mostly their palates are better.
Most of the things about women are better.
we could go down a long list in that.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting and but I love those beers. I grow a lot of chili peppers. I still grow a lot of chili peppers, a bit of a hobby of mine.
Yep.
And
nice.
And so we made some special barrel aged versions of and ended up in being Crime and Punishment.
Okay, so because of the art, right? Like I graduated with an art degree, and so I'm kind of there with you. So technology wise, what do you think? Like, what has beer technology done for the industry, and how has it hurt it, if at all?
I think that's a really great question, and there's a lot to unwrap and contemplate there. So if I'm going to think about another analogy, I can think about like CGI, or even auto-tune in music. But let's look at CGI. If you're, forgive me to the Michael Bay fans, but if you're Michael Bay, maybe you're not using it that so much on the art side.
Yep.
And but it can be used like any medium. It can be used in artistic ways, and it can be used in ways that are a little less so. So I think it's really about how it's applied. So technology in brewing, hop extracts, for example. Vinny at Russian River was one of the people that taught us that you can use hop extracts as from an artistic perspective, and with a really great artistic result. Whereas hop extracts had historically been only on the commodity side of the equation, and just used by industrial brewers as a cheaper way of adding their, fairy wand. There's a sticker. You're like ting. Where's the sound effect? Ting. Can you put a little starburst at the end of my Tinkerbell wand here?
Yeah,
ting, about a hops in there. You get the point. I just said ting 3 times in a row, now 4, and that's going to be it for the year.
Special effects. Yes.
And we're using that. We're using your sound effect for it too.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Great. Yeah. I realized I did that to myself. Yeah.
So we got to hit these, Greg.
Yeah. Okay. It's about time, huh?
Yep. Yes. Yep. It is. My mouth is dry here. So we got the Stone FML.
But forgive me, if we're going to taste both of them, you should really go Dayfall first.
Okay. You're right. We got to do that.
We should have been more prepared, but you know what? That's the thing. I'm just, I like the hops. I was going straight into the Fear Movie Lions, but you know what?
No problem.
This is a relatively new beer for you guys, right? The Dayfall.
Yeah. Have you actually had it yet, or will this be a first sampling for you?
I might have dug into what was sent to us a little bit.
Stu showed up to my house with 2 beers. And you sent him like 20.
No, it wasn't 20. It was like 4 of the FMLs and 4 of the Dayfalls, and I might have gotten down to 2 of each.
So he liked them.
So
that's good.
I like to.
I think this is great because so now we have a spectrum. You've had some before, and you haven't had it yet. So yeah.
All right, so here you go, buddy. Open it. What do you got over there, Greg? Do you have anything, or are you going to just talk us through it?
I actually, because I was late, and I'm like, oh shit, I just grabbed my iPad and I set this up, and I
no,
called
that's okay,
in.
man. The beer well, so you can talk us through it.
This is a beer style that I have to admit, personally, the American version of the Belgian White style is not been my historical favorite style. It's often been, I think, too sweet and just
fair.
The depth of flavor profile hasn't always been all that awesome. But our team wanted to do this, and I thought, well, hey, anytime our team says, hey, we'd like to, brew this or brew that, I'm like, well, of course, because you guys are artists and you're awesome. And of course they'll try it. And I really love, I think this is to my palate, this is a pretty unique take on the style, but being both true to the style as well as having some uniqueness to it.
Look, this is you guys sent us beer and we are enjoying it. And I would agree, like, for this Dayfall, one of my favorite things about it is it was not overly sweet, at least for me. When I think about, obviously, like, everyone knows Blue Moon, right? You think about even Allagash White, which I think is actually a pretty good one. It's still got, I mean, it's definitely up there, right? This one immediately to me though was like, this could be my go-to. If this is something that you guys keep around, I don't know if it's going to be seasonal or if this is going to be year round, but I will tell you specifically when I'm hungover, Belgian whites are pretty much a go-to for me. I don't know why, it just sounds particularly good at that time.
Yeah. This is fantastic, man.
I haven't been hungover I think it's been a decade since I've been hungover. Wow. Now maybe I've stopped trying, or I'm just drinking enough water, because I know usually it's like water is like the real culprit is not enough water. Dehydration.
Yes. But I remember you saying that, because like, I mean, you were talking about this whole wave that was coming out with the low calorie, low alcohol IPAs. That was like the thing over the last couple of years. And you were talking about like, hey, look guys, I've had at least 2 IPAs a day for basically the last 20 years of my life. And, you know, as long as you do it in moderation and you're not going nuts with it, you know, you don't need this low calorie stuff. So I imagine that you're also, you're having at least 2, but you're probably not having like 8, you know, and that's probably where the hangover range and, you know, the not putting too much weight on kind of thing is working perfectly.
Look, check out these IPA guns. Look at that. Look at that.
Yes. Man. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. I got to ask Greg so with that, God, now he makes me feel bad drinking beer and he's like, jacked over here. Jesus.
Oh, Jack. If you call that Jack, no. Well, okay.
You're ripped.
That would impress
nobody.
That's a big deal. No, I'm lean.
There you go. See.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask about the hair, because obviously, you know, we've seen you with no hair, no beard. What do you prefer, man? Like, do you prefer beard, no beard, hair, no hair? What's kind of like, what are you feeling?
Confession is I am ultimately lazy when it comes to that, so I prefer no maintenance. So
gotcha.
I honestly,
I like
beyond
that answer.
I kind of don't care. So
okay, cool.
I love
like it.
I've loved shaving my head and then just not touching anything for the next year.
Nice. Okay, that's cool, man.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep. If I had to shave every day, that's why I don't grow the stubble specifically for a reason. But if I had to shave every day, I'd go nuts. I don't understand.
Yeah. All right, Craig, you got to tell us now about the fear.
Yes.
Part of this here. You know, what is Greg Cook afraid of?
So I am a bit of a super amateur, no formal education philosophy geek. And so, you know, things like Stoic philosophy and a variety of other constructs, but as well as also the sort of I've always considered Stone to be a philosophy-based company. You know, we came from why do we want to do this, and what do we hope to achieve, and you know, sort of the philosophies behind things. So, in that, I've been fascinated, you know, to read. Well, we all know about the kids, you know, the younger generation these days, and you know the differences and how they're having trouble connecting, you know, with a lot of the traditions, like connecting with each other, connecting, you know, with authority or not, and you know, and responsibility, living home, all these things, and the challenges it creates, and the reality is. That's existed forever and ever and ever and ever. There is no generation that hasn't said that about the upcoming generation, right? So you can find citations throughout history, like throughout all of written history, those exist, almost saying verbatim what I just said. And we think that everything is different. So what I don't want to be is I don't want to be the proverbial bitter, angry, cranky old man to get off of my lawn. And, you know, the music my day was good music, but the stuff is just fucking noise and it's no good. And you know, I would never eat something like that. That's what foreign people eat, or, you know, I don't know, any of those things where you get that look at wrinkled, and you're just like,
classic look.
Limited.
Classic grumpy man look.
I've been there. I've done that. I know what I like. I think that the like the code for the phrase, I just know what I like, is code for I have stopped being interested in learning, exploring, and being open to new things.
Yes.
And that's what I feel. I actually don't want to do that. So that's my fear, is that I will be the get off of my lawn, because the cranky old man in me wants to get out. It's
heck
true.
yeah. I do it now, man.
He lives in here.
Yeah. Yep.
And
dude, we all hear it. We all hear it.
Yep.
Like there is a psychological statistic that says the average age in which people stop listening to new music is 34.
Really?
And
I love new music.
I'm 34.
I'm 36, and I new stuff all the time.
You're still feeling good about it.
Yeah.
So I'll admit, like probably about a year ago, I'm kind of like, is this new rock and roll really even rock and roll? Like,
yep.
And so I felt myself pulling away, but then I heard that statistic and I was like, look, I can't be that guy. So I totally hear you, Greg. Totally.
It's so common. Actually, and it's studies have shown that it's actually 18 to 22, primarily 18 to 24, where the music that it happens at that period of life is the music that sticks with you as your sort of what you identify with. Now, you guys and more open people, they're going to still learn and what you identify with.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And like I'm excited. Carsey Blanton, no idea know who that is. She's got a new album dropping on Friday. I'm excited about it, and she's like phenomenal.
Nice.
I've been historically a metal guy. She couldn't be less metal. She is definitely not metal.
I love a good range of music. It's always good, when people like, you always hate to hear people who are like, I listen to, just country. That's the only music I'll listen to. It's like, guys, open up your mind a little bit, man. Like there's a whole, like, I like, what's her name? Kaylee Reed Jepsen or whatever her name is. Carly Rae Jepsen, tell me or call me maybe. I like that song. Do I also like, Metallica? Do I also like Disturbed? Do I also like Pantera? Absolutely.
It's all about the mood.
A little Carly Rae Jepsen from time to time when I'm feeling a little, whimsical.
Dude,
why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's all about the mood, man. Like there's days I love just putting on some jazz while I'm cooking, doing my thing. And like I could sit down with some wine and just jam out.
Sure.
But then there's days like today, I'm blasting 90s, like some 41 in the man cave, getting ready for this interview. And it's like, it just all depends on the mood.
It's all about the mood.
Yeah.
All about the mood. But so
I had some friends over last couple of nights ago, and I don't know how it came up, but Baby Metal came up, and they'd never heard of Baby Metal. So I pulled up YouTube and they introduced them to Baby Metal.
Do you guys know Baby Metal? Can you describe to us what Baby Metal is, please?
I cannot. You must YouTube search Baby Metal. Just trust me on this. Oh, it's not what you think it is.
Is it literally like a babies with metal?
Japanese pop with the super cute girls in their little cute outfits. 3 of them, one in the middle, and then the 2 like immediate backups and doing all the dances. And like music.
We're gonna watch that.
That is Baby Metal, and they play huge metal festivals and concerts, and you can see the stuff. And they've got like a sea of fans out there just thumping, and it's hilarious. Now, okay, I can't say that I'm the biggest Baby Metal fan, but it's like super cute Japanese pop. Doing all the dance move, the choreographed dance move, exactly like you're doing. That's our version. It's the best we can pull out. We're not trained.
That's right.
We're not trained.
Yeah. I'll admit my faults, my flaws, absolutely.
But it just really, it kind of takes your head and it turns it sideways, and you're like, I don't know, but I think I love this, but I'm not sure. I think I may love this.
But Greg, question for you with the fear, like, what made you like kind of realize that was a fear of yours? Like you didn't just kind of like give into it and just at what point were you like, oh my gosh, I can't be like this? Was there something you remember? Or?
Yeah. When you find it sneaking in and you find that you're doing that thing. So I can, it's when you think you know better or how something is supposed to be done or anything. Like I've experienced this in business. It may seem like a leap, but it's not. So I remember I was visiting in an early 2000 Dale Catechus in this little town called Lyons, Colorado, and he took me out back, and he had this brew pub. It was called Oscar Blues, and he says, "Greg, I'm going to start canning my beer." And he had a little desktop set. It was tiny thing, and I said, "Dale, don't do it. You're making me a horrible mistake. Cans are bad." So because Greg. Big important Greg, I started my brewery in 1996, and now it was like 2002. 6 years later, I had 6 years of experience in the industry, and I knew what could and couldn't work, and I knew what you should and shouldn't do, and I was full of my bullshit. Those kinds of things. When you get convinced that the way, when you're like you're sneering at, like, I can't believe what they're wearing today, or I can't believe it.
Well,
and it sneaks up on you.
So like, you never want to be the guy who just says no because you know better, but you also, in some cases, do know better because you have that experience. Clearly, you're successful. So like let me ask you this: when you see these milkshakes, milkshake IPAs, when you see these, seltzers, when you see all this stuff come out, what do you think? And like, do you try to step back and say, okay, maybe there's something to it? Or do you say like, ugh, why?
It's probably a combination of the both. It is a combination. My first reaction sometimes is ugh, are you kidding me? I was completely dismissive of hard seltzers when they first came. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, how could you not be? They're like, flavors were either non-existent or just not good, and
way too sugary,
and is way too like I mean, like, if you actually sat down and tasted it, like I have, if you like sit down and taste it, put it in a glass, and you're got a few of them, and you're trying to go through some sensory analysis, they don't show well.
It's no.
And so I was, act like a wine cooler, go the way of the wine cooler. Remember wine coolers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking that's what would happen. Exactly. They were a little post high school for me, but if it had been high school, I'm sure I would have been a consumer. I'm sure of it.
Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm. Boone's Farm. I did do that thing.
Yes.
I literally did the classic stand outside a liquor store. Our dates were, and my buddy was around the corner. I was the one that I was like, as some older guys were coming, up like, "Hey, buddy, can you buy us some booze?"
That's a rite of passage. You have to do that
yep.
at some point.
Yep.
Yes,
I totally did. And the guy came out with some Boone's Farm, and I'm like, I think that'll work.
That'll do.
But you can go back to music, and you can look at any trend, and you can look at the throwaway pop, the junk, right? And maybe it shoots up the charts for a little while, but then inevitably a lot of stuff just ends up in the "where are they now" bin, the "where are they now" file. And so, but you can often find that there some core that either came out of it or created that particular trend, where there was some real stuff that was of merit that existed. And it's sorting through some of that stuff. I mean, we look at the Seattle sound, right? We can easily now, the Soundgarden, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, they were a little different, but, and then there was so much carry on stuff, so much just like throwaway, but it had a similar sound, the poor man's version or whatever. And you can look at just about any trend. And so you can find a lot of fluff, a lot of crap.
Like that. Yeah.
But is there a core somewhere, or was somebody like what I hope we have been able to do with our Buena Vida seltzer that we are coming out with, in a couple months? I hope that, that the team said, look, we think we can make something that's worthwhile.
Sure.
Like, okay, well, I admit I've got my doubting cap on.
Yeah.
That's called my head is my doubting cap, because again, that whole old man thing that we talked about, and that it lives in here. It wants to come out.
You were going to be a hard sell on that one. You were going to be a hard sell.
I
can imagine.
I was. And, I got to the point where, there's some team that's saying, showing this, believing the sales opportunity, and ultimately we are also in business. And I got convinced of that, and I was willing to accept like good enough. It's crazy. I mean, I'm saying this out loud, and just said it in a recording, and I'm not super proud of it, but I was willing to accept it because I thought that was all that was possible for the category. And I think that they exceeded it. Now people will come make their own minds, as everybody should, as people make their own minds about our double IPAs and everything else, right? Make up your own mind.
Yep.
But I'm super proud of what we've done and the flavors and the quality that I think that we're going to be producing with that. So it's like, I didn't think it was even possible to get there. I thought this was what's being done. This maybe it could be a new height. And I think we took it a little bit above there. I'm not going to claim that we've taken it to like, oh my God, it's the most beautiful thing ever. And it's still within the category of 100 calories or 99 calories and 3 grams of carbs. So it's within that sort of that expectation package framework, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I think they kind of knocked it out of the park within that, at the upper ends of that framework. Okay, enough about hard seltzer. But
I mean, the hard seltzer is kind of nice on a hot 115 degree day. It is nice.
Yeah.
Do I drink it all the time? No, I love all this good stuff. But so I'm excited you guys are coming out with one.
Yeah.
Super excited about it.
If anyone can do it right,
good.
Let's hope Stone does it right. And we have confidence.
You guys make a killer product. I mean, seriously, you can't go wrong with anything from Stone.
Including Fear Movie Lions. And
FML.
We need the explanation.
Yep.
Where did this come from?
Okay.
Best sound
so
in the world.
At this conference that I attended a few years ago, I was attending every year for a few years. Very TED-esque, TED-like style conference.
Yeah.
With amazing presenters, and I met this guy, and he started this company, app-based, called What 3 Words, and their mission was to address the unaddressable or unaddressed. So what they literally did, using computers, of course, they covered the world in a pattern of 3 plus trillion, 3 meter by 3 meters, so 10 foot by 10 foot squares, and gave each one of them a 3-word name. So Fear Movie Lions is the name of a 3 meter by 3 meter square that's smack dab in the middle of our Richmond, Virginia brewery, Stone Brewing there. And you use this app or use navigation from now Mercedes and a bunch of car companies. A bunch of like delivery companies, DHL or others will be able to deliver if you give them the 3-word combo to your address you want it delivered to. But if you think there's so many countries that are using it now as their addressing system. You think like a favela or a slum, but not, in India, they don't have typical addresses. But not only that, let's say you're in the middle of, the desert or a forested area or, the savannah. How do you actually triangulate in? Well, of course, you can have very long, unwieldy, long longitude, latitude numbers to do it, or you can use this 1-3-word system. And so it's enabled, and I use it when I'm meeting people at like an outdoor concert or at an outdoor place like a large beach area or something. You go, here, I'm at this, and then you can actually map to that exact 3 meter by 3 meter. So that's what it was. Brilliant. I looked. It's so much fun to use the app. What 3 words? And whenever first thing people do when they unload, they start looking at their own house, their driveway, or their front door, and see, what's the word for that, and like, oh, well, right next to it. And so I did that, and I came up with the list of what I thought were the 3 most interesting, or the most interesting 3-word combinations in our brewery, because this beer was created by our Richmond, Virginia brewing team. So I wanted to honor them by coming up with a What 3 Words name from our brewery that was located, in or around, or maybe at the front door or wherever. And I found this one right in the middle. And it was just the best. It was like spear moving lions. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool and I like it. And I will tell you honestly, I did not put together for more than a year after it was released the FML part. I did not put that together. I cannot claim
it was I thought it was always an intentional way to do just like an FML, like, but that is
pretty cool.
Okay. Luck of happenstance.
So what about your Escondido brewery? Do you guys have a good set of names for that one? Like when you use this app?
Yes, I don't remember what they are. I think what we do for each one of our locations on our website, we have a what three words, and it's designated by the three. See the three lines before the word fear on the can. So that's our convention. Yep. It's a three slashes, gotcha. And then the first word a dot, the next word a dot. That's the convention of their system.
Oh, that's awesome. I would have never caught that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Know so much more about this beer now.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
So you'll see that on our website for each one of our locations. We actually include a what three words location.
That's
so cool. It's a brilliant system, but you got to get your head wrapped around the new kind of thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, but it totally makes sense. I mean, are like FedEx and UPS and DHL getting on board with this kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. And you want drone deliveries, awesome. For example, the whole automated delivery thing. You give them, you don't give them your address, which could be anywhere on a property.
Yeah.
You give them the what three words square, and it will go to that spot. Wow. And as I said, this Beer Movie Lions was created in Richmond, Virginia, by our team there, as a blend between an East Coast style hazy and a West Coast style, Stone style IPA. And it's sort of like it brings the two elements together. So it's got actual real bitterness, but it's got a lot of that juicy, hazy character. Tell me what you guys think of the beer. You've just been sipping on it, which is fine.
Yeah. This is one that I've had several times and I can't get enough of it. I feel like I know more about the beer. I feel closer to it. Like we could be friends now. Not that we weren't already close. But yes, it's got the hazy elements to it, which I know you love.
Yeah, I've never been an IPA guy. I'll tell you that. Like Stu came in and he's like, "Oh, I love my West Coast IPAs." I'm like, "What the heck, man? This is nuts!" But the more and more I'm getting into it, the hazies are bringing me in. Yep. And now, like other IPAs I've tried,
they're getting you in the door.
They're getting me in the door, man. Yes. And I'm not blasting my palate because I'm starting slow, right? So this is fantastic. There's something about this, and not even because you're on here, because I speak my mind. I've been in trouble for it. So trust me, if I didn't like it, I would tell you.
I understand what that's like.
I mean, yeah, it's awesome. Like there's nothing. Like I'm not going like making that weird face when you drink a beer. Like this is great, man.
And it's actually the one thing, Greg, that we have a challenge with is drinking these heavier beers, even though it's a hazy. But like when you're in Vegas and it's 100 degrees outside, and it was already 85 today. Okay, so like we're getting warm already. It's hard to drink a heavy IPA or a malty beer when it's that hot outside. When it gets up into 115 degrees in August. But what I love about Beer Movie Lions is it's got a little bit of floralness. It's got a little bit of levity to it. And my palate might be just totally off, but that's what I'm getting from it. And it feels lighter where I can sit outside 105 degrees.
Totally.
And just sip on this. And that'd be perfectly fine.
Yep. 100%, man. I could drink this all day. Seriously. Well, might knock me out at some point. Yeah. At some point,
remember drink that water.
But, yes.
Drink that water.
But great. I mean, so again, not to, just continue to just talk about how cool Stone is, but you guys have set the pace. You've changed the game for IPAs. You've changed the game for a rock star personality for breweries and basically given the middle finger to, the man. You've given the middle finger to the big breweries in one way or another. I know you sued a big brewery recently and you kind of kicked their ass a little bit. I want to ask you, you guys are setting the standard, but what breweries inspire you?
I'm happy to say so many. I'm happy to say that there's so much about, so we might go, okay, some milkshake IPAs out there lack any structure or backbone, but there's some good ones. And there's some segments that people have done something with beer at every turn that I either never imagined or I didn't think was possible. Like you couldn't do a good one of X. Like we were talking about Buena Vesa earlier, and lighter style beers. I think craft beer rescued that style from the clutches of the industrial brewers who had taught us that style was vacuous and a throwaway and not worth your time on any serious level. And maybe just if you're, got done mowing your lawn. And frankly, I didn't even drink it then. To say, okay, no, actually, you can have a beer that's light, that's not empty, that's not, simple. It doesn't have to be like complex and all these tasting notes kind of approach it, but you can just have a beer that's simple and satisfying, yet there's a there versus there's no there.
There is a there. There's a there there. Yes. It's a perfect way to say it.
So I like that. And so my inspiration, I'm going to hold back from, naming a specific, because really it should be a laundry list that I should have prepared in advance if I'm going to answer that question. All right. But there's, brewers are doing crazy stuff. And I'm happy to say also in my, in my own company, our small batch breweries and the pilot and innovation team and just the stuff that we come out with. It's brilliant.
Yep.
All right, Greg, I do have to ask you this to end this deal here.
Okay.
So if you had any advice, because I know a lot of people may have your beer and they're curious about making beer, and I don't know, for how much you love Stone and everything, what advice would you give to another like home brewer that's maybe just like getting into the game or has that epiphany like you had at Anchor Steam? What if someone tries your beer and has that epiphany? What would you tell them? Like advice to give them?
So, well, if you're a home brewer with no commercial objective at all, that's awesome. Then it amazes me how often home brewers, I run into home brewers and they basically describe the beers that they brew and they brew them all for other people. I think that's a lot of I just want to create something and share and I want people to like it.
Yes.
That's fine. Of course, you're trying to make people happy. That's a wonderful thing. But there's the chance to just go, I am not going to try and make anybody happy. I'm brewing this beer for myself. Somebody else likes it. Fantastic. I mean, we always like that. But that enables you to sort of break free from conceptions, right? It's like we were talking about way at the early part of the show. It seems a little while ago now. The German, brewing school, system of this style of beer tastes like this. It's made this way. It's very, very, very narrow and specific. Well, as a home brewer, chuck that out the window. Do whatever the hell you want, and see and experiment.
Cool.
If you're getting from there into professional brewing, try and take as much of that as you can with you, because it's, as you said, the quote I gave earlier, which is an old one, it's like, if you're doing anything unique or special or worthwhile, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get people that don't like it. People not liking something you do is an important part of doing something great, because the best part, right, is not trying to make people something that everybody likes, but instead something that some people fucking love.
Yes.
And a lot of other people don't like, but that's okay. Pay attention to the people that, so I'll use Metallica as a great example. Most people don't like Metallica, but they're the only American band with 6 #1 albums. But still, most people don't like Metallica, but the people that love Metallica fucking love Metallica.
Fucking love
Great, because they're being Metallica. They're not trying to be this other thing. So that's my kind of thought process to get into as you're seeking to use your art, or just be a cover band and play whatever the tunes are on the radio right now, and that's okay too, because people enjoy that.
Well, thank you, Greg, so much. Seriously, I know we've totally gone over the time, but you've been amazing. This is great, man.
Appreciate it. And you guys are great to talk with. easy conversationalist. So you make it interesting and you bring it out. And you made me just like hang out, like, oh shit, are we out of overtime by like a five or 10 minutes? Like, oh no, like by an hour. But
shit, I didn't realize it was 5:45, man.
Thanks for reminding us,
dude. Greg, as a Poway kid growing up, I got to tell you, man, this has been a dream. You've made my year. Thank you for coming on. I got to thank your director of PR. She is incredible.
Fantastic.
She's been just amazing at communicating. I need to send her several baskets of chocolate, one of which should go to you because I also do work for a chocolate company. But that's whole other thing. But thank you.
I like 83%, 83, 85%. That's where my spot.
All right,
good
to know. There you go.
Well, we got some stuff actually coming out that I'll send your way. Okay. Greg, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Man.
Cheers, buddy.
I mean, seriously, Derek, that was a dream come true.
It was insane, man.
So I don't even have anything else to say because I'm still just like whirling about the whole thing. So audience, everyone who's listening, we're probably going to post this on Facebook too, or YouTube.
Yep.
So everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me as I was like nervous through the halfway point of the interview. I think the beers eventually got to me. I felt a little better. So guys, Derek, thanks for bearing with me on this one, and we'll be seeing you.